Welcome back to another episode of Getting Personal. I'm here today with Ronan, Partnership Manager at HSUITE. How are you doing today, Ronan? And are you ready to get personal?
Fantastic, Jack. And yourself?
Yeah, really good. Looking forward to delve into a little bit of your story and what you guys have been working on at HSUITE.
Yeah, excited to talk about it.
So before we get into your personal story, I've been seeing a lot of hype, excitement, people talking about, HSUITE lately on the timeline. Why do you think that is? What are you guys cooking up? What are people excited about when it comes to HSUITE?
When it comes to HSuite, the team and the founders and the whole team of developers have been working on the smart node technology, which is the core infrastructure, which we see as the successor of smart contracts, which can be used on the Hedera native layer 0. So any of the transactions that go through HSuite is basically interacting directly with the hash graph, and you don't need to rely on any smart contracts to do your transactions. So it actually makes it more efficient. You're not going through many lines of smart contracts to be able to approve any of the transactions. The smart nodes basically, the way it works is they can actually communicate and see into your wallets before the transaction actually occurs. So it can verify any of the transactions before it actually happens. And the wallets basically need to communicate with each other through the smart nodes and approve the transaction before it actually occurs. So it's all verified on chain. So it just speeds up the whole process of it, and cuts out any of the complications of smart contracts. It actually the scalability of it makes it even better as well, because you don't have some of the limitations that you do with smart contracts. So with smart contracts, you have a limit of 10 megabytes that you can use, but with smart nodes, they could be infinitely scalable. You could have hundreds of thousands of megabytes. So you've got that, and then you've also got the speed of the transactions per second. So with the smart nodes, you've got over 10,000 transactions per second, because it's built on top of the layer 0 of Hedera. So all of the smart nodes are all of the smart node infrastructure is basically compiled amongst all of the services of Hedera to make the actual smart nodes work. So all of it is actually connected directly into the hashgraph technology. So it's really fascinating to watch and to learn what the developers are actually have achieved and what the hopes are for the future. So we're very excited of what's to come, and yeah, I'm sure the community are as well. So there's a lot of possibilities for it.
Yeah, I was going to say that the community is excited for a reason then. And you kind of answered my next question, which is why did the team pick Hedera? But I guess it's because these smart nodes, you need the Hedera hashgraph technology to build smart nodes. Is that the case?
Yeah, because one of the main reasons is obviously the consensus service and the possibility of the hashgraph and what the team have been able to make. So there's very few chains that would enable the scalability that the Hedera hashgraph enables. So that is one of the main reasons. It's obviously with the smart nodes. One of the main reasons is obviously the security aspect of it, and being AVFD is a big factor, because there's a lot of flaws with smart contracts, and the developers wanted to minimize any of the limitations and flaws with some of these smart contract issues that you see, and any of the exploits that arise through faults of these. So that was one of the main reasons that the guys wanted to use the hash graph and build on top of it, because of the reliability of it.
Love it. And for those who don't know, because we've gone straight into the smart nodes and the community excitement around these. What is HSuite? Like, give us a little nutshell of what HSuite is for someone who's never, heard of them or doesn't know too much.
So originally setting out was the core technology, which was the smart nodes, and any of the services that were built were showcases. So we're now at the stage of developing those showcases and improving and focusing on the user interface and the user experience to basically improve the whole aspect of the experience for the customer. So obviously the smart nodes is the back end. So for people that don't know, it's the technology behind the scenes that make the plumbing work basically. So um, yeah, so the team wanted to focus on that and have an infrastructure that won't just be used for HbarSuite, but as a network in itself. So as a scaling solution, it's a perfect solution for the likes of big enterprises because they have that ability to scale. We've got the software development kits that will be available in Q2 of this year, which will enable developers who basically will use TypeScript to make it easier for these developers to speed up the process of integrating into Hedera Hashgraph. And they'll basically be using smart nodes to maximize the infrastructure that's been put in place. But one of the key things also is the fee structure of Hedera. Because the consensus service is one of the lowest fees for the transactions, the team have basically focused a lot of the development around minimizing the fees to make it possible for other enterprises to basically build on top of the network and basically gain the full functionality of the hash graph at basically a simpler, more simplistic way. So the first release of the software development kit is going to be in TypeScript. So there's a lot of developers around the world who know TypeScript or even JavaScript. So it'll be a lot easier for the developers to integrate into HBAR Suite network, but also into Hedera.
Amazing. Amazing. And how does it complement for example, the Hedera token service? Do they kind of work alongside each other? Do they complement each other? How do they kind of meet?
Yeah, so it works alongside it. So because it's all on the native layer, they interact directly with the direct services of the hash graph. So any of the services like the token services are directly in contact with the native services of Hedera.
Great. And what kind of, I'm just thinking from a business or an enterprise level, if someone was coming in and they wanted to leverage the smart nodes, what
Yeah.
kind of use cases would we be looking at for these kinds of companies?
Yeah, so you actually have, so for tokens, for example, you have the token manager on our platform, so you can actually use that to basically create your own token, whether it be a fungible or whether it be a stable coin, or whether it's going to be linked with NFTs. Like we've showcased a number of different features on HBAR Suite. So we have something that's called VH Suite, which we consider as a loyalty program. So that is the value of that is 1 to 10 of H Suite. So for every 10 VH Suite, so it's a vested H Suite. So that will always remain on the platform. So you'll be able to redeem that VH Suite. The more you'll be able to redeem it for your H Suite. So how you earn the VH Suite is the more that you use the DApp. So by using the DApp more frequently and with a higher usage, a percentage of that will be allocated to the VH Suite. So it's kind of like a discount loyalty kind of mechanism. So that's one of the features that businesses could benefit from. but yeah, if they want to have their own token set up, we have that facility on the platform.
Great. Let's shift gears a little bit into your personal journey. Before you joined the team at HSUITE, or before even Web3, like what's been your trajectory? What's your background? Where do you come from, and what led you to Web3?
So I've always had a quite business mind. I've always been dabbling in business. I've studied business management. I received a scholarship for business management and did that, and moved from managing a store to migrating to Australia, where I seen myself getting into the construction industry, which led me into setting up my own construction business. But in the running alongside all of that, I was able to keep an eye and get an interest into the whole crypto industry. So at first, obviously, was attracted to the likes of Bitcoin, probably back in maybe 2014 or so. Dabbled in that a little bit, and then some of the other coins as well. And from there, I stumbled across Hedera in probably 2018. So from there, it led me into the ecosystem of Hedera. So yeah, from dabbling in a bit of NFTs from the Go times and Exact Wallet, and going through the escrow of Go and all the complications that were a little more difficult at the time to wrap your head around. But from there, yeah, I ended up coming across Hbar Suite further down the line, and yeah, I got so engrossed in learning more about the vision of Lehman Bar, Tamachi and Tapachi. They wanted to fulfill that idea of the .nets and create what we now call smart nodes. So yeah, that led me down that path, and I was lucky enough to get involved in the team. And I felt I could do a job working with the guys and bring HbarSuite to a position where I think it should be positioned, and I think it deserves a lot more credit than what we're currently seeing, and I have a lot of expectations for where it can go. So yeah, so I've the full belief in HbarSuite and where it can go. So I'm excited for the future. So
Nice. So proper Hedera OG 2018. We've come a long way, right? I wasn't around personally on Hedera at the time, but I can imagine like 2018, fast forward to today with the infrastructure and the tools and the community that we have. Like what's the first thing that comes to mind for you that you really appreciate? Like in the last year, for example, uh, apart from HSuite, like I don't know, infrastructure, community tools that you didn't have all the way, back in 2018.
well, going back that far, we didn't even have a wallet. So we've come a long way since then. Like you've just recently seen, like in the last hour or two, the release of the Snap function and Wallet Connect. So going from having no wallet to being able to connect to other chains directly through the wallets is it's a massive step. So it's great to finally see that momentum take us there. And yeah, I think we've all been waiting for that moment. So it's exciting to see.
Absolutely.
I think it'll be great to see other people having a taste for what Hedera really is. So I'm looking forward to showcasing what the capabilities of Hedera are. So
We're talking of 5 years into the past. What about 5 years into the future? Like, where do you see yourself, HSuite, Hedera, like dreaming into the future? Where do you see us all being in 5 years? Or what do you hope to see?
um, well, for Hedera, I think it's getting a lot of the use cases to be actively using the hash graph. And I think getting to that stage where all of these enterprises are actually requiring to purchase the Hedera token, which is obviously HBAR. So I think that's when we'll see an enormous growth. Currently, we're kind of in the development stage still. So even though we have a large market cap and we consider ourselves to be quite substantial in what we've seen in development perspective and the people that have built on top of it. But I think that's going to be fast tracked, and we're going to see an enormous traction of enterprises building on top of Hedera just because of this scalability and functionality of the Hashgraph. I think it's something that all of these enterprises are crying out for. So I think Hedera definitely has a future, and we're hoping to be one of the big projects behind it. So yeah, obviously with HbarSuite, I see a big future with that. I think if you see the likes of, I don't want to hype us up to the likes of Polygon, but if you think about other networks that are facilitating a similar infrastructure, yeah, I'd like to see us get to a stage like Polygon, but we have a long way to go for that. But there's definitely the infrastructure that's been put in place to allow us to develop and to scale to that potential. So it's exciting to see.
When you mention Polygon, what comes to mind is layer 2. So do you see HBar Suite as kind of like a layer 2 on top of the Hedera network? Is that the goal?
Yes. So because we actually interact directly with the layer 0, you could technically, rather than being a layer 2, we would actually consider ourselves a layer 1.5 because we're actually interacting directly with the layer 1 or layer 0, whichever way one you want to call it. But yeah, it's there's definitely a potential there for us to grow the network in itself and to be able to scale it. So yeah, we've got a couple of partnerships that will be coming online with us, which will be announced in the coming, I'm hoping, coming days, but possibly weeks, if it's not in the coming days, of some exciting news regarding some of the partnerships. So exciting to see.
This will probably go out tomorrow, so ahead of that announcement. But is there anything you'd like to drop here? Any teaser of the coming announcements?
Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to drop it. I wish I was, but unfortunately, I
But
can't.
I've got to try. I've got to try at
Yeah,
least.
for sure.
So back to you, like on a personal level, or even for HSuite, if you want to go there, like what's been your biggest challenge so far, since you started out?
I think for me personally, I would probably say one of the difficulties for me personally was trying to get HbarSuite into a position where it can be trusted, because we are in a position where the developers or the founders are not doxed. So we have created an infrastructure, a trust within the infrastructure to enable any of the transactions to be publicly on chain. And the way we've actually built the trust, it was actually before my time with HbarSuite, but the way it was structured was there was some of the early OGs of Hedera, they were involved in the early stages of development of HbarSuite, and their main role was to be able to create a safe environment that all the funds that were going to be provided were going to be protected by these OGs of the space. Now, many of those OGs are still with us. Some aren't so active. So we are lucky to have many of those treasury members doxed. some of which aren't, but they are trusted members of the Hedera community, and they are safeguarding any of the funds that are transacting on the treasury. So for me, building the business and growing the business is a little bit more difficult when it comes to having an undoxed team. We want to have a trust with any of the partners that we're in partnership with, and that is obviously an option on the table if necessary. There's NDAs that are possible for the founders and partners to get involved in. So they're semi-doxed. Like if you think about any of the Hedera developers, a lot of them will already know who our founders are. We've got Apache, who's actually met Lehman. So there's a lot of people who know the developers. So it actually builds on the trust. So you can see them as semi-doxed, I would say.
Interesting. And I imagine this is a question that the community may have. I don't know if you can talk to it, but what's the reason behind the founders not wanting to dox?
I think one of the main reasons is obviously the uncertainty in the landscape of the direction of cryptocurrencies. So I think that's one of the main reasons. But you also have the fame that can go with some of the networks growing and being able to scale. So like if you look at Bitcoin, for example, nobody knows who the founder was, but it's grown to the size that it's at, and nobody knows who the founder is, but yet so many people trust in the Bitcoin network. So it's about creating that trustless network for people to be able to interact with. So if you look at Lehman, for example, I'm sure he could probably be pestered anywhere he goes. You look at some of the founders of like CZ, like everyone knows these people. You look at Vitalik as well. They're all hounded and they all need security. Like they have to pay for security to safeguard them. So who knows if HbarSuite was to ever get to the size of any of them? Yeah, that could be a potential reason, a safety aspect, I guess. They wanted to keep their family and everything safe and secure, and
They'll be pestering you instead.
yeah, that's a scary point of view. Yeah, that's the
But no,
risk
thank.
that I've taken. But yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, just circling back to the smart nodes, because you did mention a little bit. The you compared them briefly to smart contracts, how they differ. How I'd like to ask as well, like I don't know if you can compare. I know HSuite is also a DEX, similar to Source Swap. Like, how do they differ, and are there any downsides to smart nodes, or are they just superior? Full stop.
No, they can do everything that a smart contract can do. So they can actually interact with any smart contract. They can interact with any blockchain. They can interact with anything on chain, interact with anything off chain. Basically anything that's connected to the internet. So yeah, they can do anything that a smart contract can do, but more. So we see it as the successor to smart contracts, for all the reasons that I'm not sure if you've seen some of the stuff that I post, but you obviously have the fee structure. So with directly comparing with DEXs, so with smart contracts, in order to set up a smart contract, it costs $1 for every smart contract that you set up, and then for any transaction, for any smart contract call, it costs 5 cents. So yeah, so you have the fee structure in itself where we're pretty confident that the fee structure can't be beaten. So when you're comparing DEXs and the fees, we are pretty confident that we'll have some of the lowest fees around. So When you come to failed transactions, there's no failed transactions on our DEX or with our smart nodes. So there's a lot of bonuses. You see a lot of failed transactions happening on smart contracts, and then when you're looking at scalability, you've got a maximum throttle of 350 TPS for EVM smart contracts on Hedera. So eventually, in my view, you're going to see a bottleneck. So what opens up the door then is the possibility of smart nodes and being able to scale them, because a lot of people are going to have to rely on some other infrastructure to be able to use the infrastructure unless Hedera was able to somehow improve that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
If from what I'm hearing, smart nodes are kind of like the evolution of smart contracts. They could do everything but better, faster, cheaper, and probably other things. So my question is, do you see other dexes adopting smart nodes as well? Like if they're if they're just superior or something similar, I don't know.
For sure, yes. We've got a number of dexes who are looking to build on top of our smart nodes. So the answer is yes. They like everything about the smart nodes and the capabilities of them. So
And that's cross chain, you said, right?
we have a cross-chain DEX. We can interact with any smart contracts or whatever complex logic that they have on other chains. So yes.
All right. So this year, 2024, what excites you the most about this year in regarding to Hedera, HbarSuite? What are you most excited about?
Well, firstly, I will probably mention probably the DEX. I'm probably most excited about. We've currently got 2.2 million in TVL on our DEX, which is currently the fourth largest on Hedera. So we've got a lot of growing to do with regards to competing with some of the other DEXs. So I'm confident that we can get to that stage, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to capture the whole market share, but yeah, I think there will be a market share that we'll be able to capture. So I think there's definitely a possibility of growing Hbar Suite with regards to the DEX for all the reasons that I mentioned previously. One of the things about smart nodes in relation to the DEXs, any of the smart nodes, they actually need to, any transaction that goes through the smart nodes need to be approved by the smart nodes. So you can't just send a token to the smart node, which could congest the DEX or mess up the functions or unbalance the pool. You don't have that potential of messing around with it. So the smart nodes need to work together. There's currently 8 smart nodes, 7 or 8 smart nodes on the network, which we will be releasing the validator nodes. So if you had a gold Hbar, which was an NFT which was released for, I think when it was first released, it didn't have any utility attached to it. Yeah, so what happened was it was released for 500 Hbar, and at its peak, it went up to a floor price of 50,000 Hbar. So because the founders have always wanted to show loyalty to the Hbar Suite the HSUITE holders and the NFT holders, they were continually adding to any of the features and adding benefits for the people of the network. So with the Gold Hbar, you've seen discounts added for transactions on the network. You've seen whitelisting, being able to get first access to being able to get access to the DEX and other features. You've also got the node validators, which will be coming. I'm hoping it'll be out in Q2. We're aiming for. So so the validators will actually be then validating all the transactions on the network. So that'll be exciting to see. So any of the transactions on the DEX itself will have to go through the validator nodes. So and that's just the community edition of all the services, which we also have the likes of a multi-sig, a launchpad, a DAO, a cross-chain DEX, the native DEX, the token manager. But we also have the enterprise edition, which will also be running on smart nodes. So any of the enterprises that build on top of the network will be using smart nodes. So any of those enterprises will be required to have the HSUITE token to pay for any of the fees. So,
all right, sounds like a big year coming for not just the ecosystem but HSUITE as well. And with more users coming in, like with the ecosystem growing, hopefully, and more people using Hedera, I think there'll probably be room for multiple DEXs anyway. So it's just great to hear what you guys are working on. And the smart nodes sound really cool. I mean, I had learned a little bit about them, but this conversation's really, brought some more light to it. So that's really cool. Appreciate that. One last question.
It's
Sorry, go
funny.
ahead.
It's funny that I was looking at the traffic on HBAR Suite, on the DApp in particular, and funnily enough, a lot of the traffic is actually coming from Spain, believe it or not. So
Oh, really?
it's
Interesting.
it's quite interesting to see some of that traffic coming from unexpected places. Yeah, it's exciting to see. A lot of people are finding out about HBAR Suite and the services that are available. So yeah, it's really interesting.
That's definitely an untapped market. Like it's a market that we work with as well at Kabila, right? Not just Spain, like whole of LATAM, Latin America and South America, and there's just a lot of countries there and a lot of people
Mm.
that we don't necessarily engage with so much, right? On within the, I say English speaking community, it's nearly parallel. Like they don't
Mm.
really,
Yeah,
intermingle, and it's such a massive, massive market and untapped. So excited to hear that you've got some people coming in from that area.
yeah. I'm sure Kabila may have had some part in getting people involved. So it's a big thanks to you guys at Kabila and Adrian making posts about HBAR Suite, etc. So yeah, thank you
Nice.
guys.
Always happy to support the real builders out here. So, quick one last question that I'd like to ask you. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. Outside of HSuite, which projects on Hedera are you most bullish on personally?
Uh, it depends what you're looking at. So there's obviously different aspects. If you look at gaming, for example, I'd have to mention Earthlings. Um, I've been really interested in what they're building. Some of the videos that are coming out, and the
Mm.
team are just fantastic at what they've been building. So yeah, big shout out to the Earthlings team and what they're building. I can't not mention you guys and all the tools that you're creating, making it very simple for the likes of development of NFTs. You've got a lot of cool features on your platform, so I have to give you guys a shout out. Um, yeah, you got to look at some of the great wallets that we have as well. You've got Hashback and Blade Wallet. I'd like to see Walla Wallet get going again. They were one of the promising ones early on, and I'd like to see them get a bit more traction. So yeah, there's so many projects. You've also got the likes of Dovu, um, on the refi side of things. You've got obviously you've got some of the bigger enterprises like Atma, which goes without saying with the amount of transactions that they're putting into the network. where Hedera in itself has to be quite grateful for the amount of transactions that they've produced. So hopefully that Hedera in itself can actually produce a lot more companies like Atma, and hopefully the likes of HbarSuite could produce a lot of transactions and get the recognition it deserves, I think.
Nice. Is there anything we haven't touched on? Any questions that you would have liked me to ask that I didn't? And if so, would you like to mention them or answer them?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Nice.
Yeah, I think you've done pretty well with the questions. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, it's been a lot of fun. Really appreciate you for taking the time, and I look forward for this going out to the community so they can learn a bit more about you and what you guys are building over at HSUITE. It's been great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for having us, and we look forward to doing more business with you guys.